is Kirk Hilliard.
And this is Rusty Bird. It's the Kirk and Bird Show. Welcome to our Class 3, Class 4 review. We're joined today by a veteran of the show, Anthony Rob Robinson. What's up, A-Rob?
What's going on, man? How everybody doing out there? How is everybody doing? The P.
The P. Look, so in case you don't know, I don't know who doesn't know by now, Rob is a Phoebus legend, multi-time player state championship coach, and been an administrator in a lot of ways for that whole program, and has had a hand probably in just about all 9 state championships.
Some way, somehow.
Somehow. So I think he know a little bit of something about Phoebus football, right? So we're blessed to have him. And then we got Byron Jones. He's a rookie on this show, so we might take it easy on him. I don't know, man. We might haze you a little bit, bro. But this is Byron Jones. He works with and writes for VAPreps. He's a former athlete playing football at Rock Ridge County High School and Bridgewater, and so he knows a little bit something about football.
Hampton Sydney.
Oh, Hampton Sydney. I'm so sorry.
Get it right.
College football player. Yep.
I'm sorry. You're right. Hampton Sydney. That's right. Okay. And he knows a lot about that Class 4 matchup, but he saw both games. So we'll go ahead and get into those now. Welcome to the show, Byron.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Byron.
Sorry about that. And I'll be honest. Look, y'all were talking about. So I got recruited by every Division III school up and down 81 coming out of high school. Emory and Henry, Ferrum, Bridgewater, Hampton Sydney. So to me, since I didn't go to any of them, they all were the same. Yeah. You're lucky I didn't call it Hampton Water or or Emory and
I went to Hampton Sydney Greek Week 1987. And for anybody that does not know Hampton Sydney, it's got about 1,200 students. It's a boys' school. But Sweetbriar, Hollins, the old Randolph-Macon Women's College, and Logwood, there's 5 girls for every guy on the weekend. So if you're looking at Hampton Sydney, it's a great school. Real quick, so for our viewers, we're going to start with the Class 4 champion, Dinwiddie. The Generals, congratulations, Coach Billy Mills. They defeated a great Kettle Run team out of Nokesville, Virginia. And then we're going to switch over and we're going to talk about Phoebus's winning back-to-back state championships. They defeated Heritage of Lynchburg. And before we do that, ask everybody to subscribe to us on YouTube. It's really easy.
Hit that button, people. Hit it.
The Kirk and Bird. Just if you don't want to get notifications, just turn that off. And then
but you want to get notifications,
right?
Once you start watching this, you're gonna get addicted, and then you're gonna be fiending for it. So when you're fiending for some Kirk and Bird, it relaxes you when you hear the bell, bing, and you're like, bam, okay.
And you never know who these guys might have on, man. You never know.
Right.
Never know.
Right. And if you ever want to listen to us just audio, you can play YouTube in your car on the phone, but we got Spotify, Audible, Google, Apple. You can find us all there. So I was telling you, Byron, that I stayed for the Phoebus game. It was supposed to be 50, and it was cloudy, and it was only about 43. I left. Dinwiddie and Kettle Run were starting to get there, and I was like, it's too cold because I didn't dress, and I was headed up, and then it warmed up. But you were there. You saw the game, and I've seen Kettle Run play. So let's start off with that. Obviously, Dinwiddie won that game handily. But what was your take on, was it total domination? I was not able to watch the game. Let's get our newest correspondent going here.
Yeah, I want to hear this one, man. I want to hear how this went.
Yeah, it was flat out domination. I mean, there's no other way to put it. I mean, Kettle Run put Dinwiddie a 3-and-out to, open up the game, and then, Dinwiddie forced him in a 3-and-out, and then the scoring was on. I mean, Dinwiddie scored on their next 4 possessions, and in a blink of an eye, they were up 28-0. And I mean, it's hard to come back 28-0 to any team, much less a Dinwiddie team that we saw this year. And I think Kettle Run's inability to run the football really hindered them.
Right.
you got to be able to run the football in high school. You have to be able to run it. So they did get some passing touchdowns there towards the, midway through the second. They went back to back, but every time that they would score, Dinwiddie would score right back. And they just opened up the lead on them. There were a couple times in the second half, even late in the first half, where Dinwiddie's receivers were wide open. You kind of scratched your head and was wondering, well, did the defensive back fall down? Did he go get popcorn on the sideline? Like there was nobody around these guys. I mean, wide open. So, I had mentioned in my pregame write up that, if Kettle Run were to be successful, they needed to do a few things. And one of the main things was winning on first and second down on offense. And they just couldn't. They could not, pick up 3 or 4 yards here, 3 or 4 yards there, get them in third and short, situations. They were third and distance. And then, just the punts came, and then Dinwiddie continued to score. And, it really just wasn't even close, to be completely honest.
Right.
Did you see Dinwiddie play other games this year?
Yeah, I actually traveled up to watch them play North Stafford this year, which North Stafford had a pretty down year considering where they used to be as a program. And I actually saw Dinwiddie again against Thomas Dale here in Richmond. And that game is where I really kind of knew that this team was really special. I mean, they were 9-0, going into it. I just thought, Thomas Dale had a lot of athletes as well. They matched up well on both sides. I wasn't expecting them to throttle Thomas Dale the way they did. They beat him by 35 points. And that's where I knew that this team for Dinwiddie was a little different. Because I'll be honest, in years past, let's go back to last year. Dinwiddie had a really good season. Britton Hilton, who was their quarterback, is now at Chowan. They were dominating everybody last year, and then they get to Patrick Henry in the second round of the regions and look like they'd never stepped on the football field before. And Jordan Allen, who went to he was going to Davis, and now he's at the University of Richmond. He ran all over them, and they beat him. I think it was like 35 or 28-14, something like that. So there have been times where Dinwiddie has let me down over the years, where I thought that, hey, this was a team to kind of get over the hump and get another title. So I was very reserved in my, predictions of where they might end up. And I just wanted to let it go week by week. And, fortunately they pulled it out this year. So very happy to see them get that.
So I saw Kettle Run play, and Jordan Tapscott, record-setting wide receiver, really good quarterback, Abram, number 2, who plays defensive end. How was that? Because I was thinking they would be going to him. Was it too much pressure? Because they used to go to him a lot. And then you talk about the running game, Colton Quaker, their running back. How did that all play out? Was Jordan Tapscott able to do anything?
Well, Tapscott did score a touchdown. He caught their first touchdown pass on their 6th possession of the game. So it took them 6 possessions to get it to the end. And like I said, by that time, Dinwiddie was up 28-0. And he had a few other good catches throughout the game. I mean, he's definitely an athlete, can play at the next level. I believe he was originally committed to VMI, but he had opened his recruitment up.
The coach is leaving.
Yeah. Well, VMI hired Danny Rocco.
Old Liberty coach.
Oh, okay.
Their UVA assistant. So that's going to be interesting to see who he can pick up in the portal or get to commit there. But again, it's VMI, it's a military school. It's hard to recruit at those places, but when you got a guy like Danny Rocco coming in, he's gonna get some guys. So, but back to Tapscott, like I said, great athlete, great player. I just, they did a nice job of covering him up. Where I think Peyton Mahaffey was his name, and Samuel Rogers. They kind of shined a little bit more because they had put a little bit more pressure on Tapscott. Right. I did think that was interesting. Was Abram Chumley, their quarterback, also lined up again. So I knew he had to be gassed. You know what I mean? Throughout the game, I mean, he's taking a pounding on defense. He was over top of Colin Jackson, who Dinwiddie, it's their 6'6", 300-pound, left tackle. So, I'm sure, over time, that began to wear on him a little bit. But he looked good in the pocket. I mean, you would never have thought that a defensive end playing that many snaps could get back on offense and throw the ball down the field like he did. But he did a good job. I mean, he threw 1 interception, but that was late in the game. But as far as the running game is concerned, nobody's been able to really run on Dinwiddie all season. Brandon Rose, who was arguably one of the best running backs in the Richmond area at Thomas Dale. I think he barely managed 100 yards, and he was averaging, 125, 150 plus every game, and they limited him. The King George running back, I think he went for 200, but he also had a 99-yard run that game that kind of helped him pad the stats in that regional final. But like I said, Dinwiddie's a team that hasn't really been ran on at all this year, and Colton, what is his name?
Quaker.
Quaker, yeah. I'm looking at the stats here. I mean, they had 26 rushes for a net of 38 yards.
Yeah. When I saw them play, their size, and a lot of people overestimate size, but what I was thinking is that they hadn't seen anything close to Dinwiddie. Loudoun County's a good physical team, but the athleticism, and then I picked them to beat Glass, but do you think that came into play? In other words, bigger, faster, stronger, clear cut? Because in a few minutes, we're going to go over to Phoebus, and that was definitely the case with Heritage and Lynchburg. But is that what you saw? I mean, I saw some kind of undersized defensive line.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that because Kettle Run's offensive line, actually, I thought, in my opinion, was a little bigger than Dinwiddie's offensive line.
Yeah, offensive line. Defensive line is
defensive line. They were average size. I mean, the Chumley kid who played defensive end, I mean, he's 6'2", 205, 210. Yeah, he was pretty well, but I don't think the size was a factor. I think just team speed overall was the biggest factor.
Yeah.
I mean, Dinwiddie was head and shoulders the faster, more physical team. And, just like you said, Kettle Run just hadn't seen a team like Dinwiddie. And I think a thing that helps with Dinwiddie and some of the teams that are 3 and 4s kind of in our area is like the Central District, for example. I mean, you got teams that are 3, 4, 5, and 6, all in that district.
Right.
Yep.
Great mix throughout the year. And there ain't no slouches coming through the Central District, even the Dominion District as well. Because you have Manchester Class 6, LC Berg Class 5, and Midlothian Class 5, some other 4s and 3s that are in there as well. So I think being in this area and even in the Tidewater area, there's some stuff like that as well where you can.
That's how we were. We were the lowest school in our district. We was a 3A school. Everybody we played were 4 or 5.
Right.
Yep.
And I think that helps teams like Phoebus, teams like Dinwiddie when it's postseason. I mean, because in watching Kettle Run in the week leading up to it, and no disrespect to Kettle Run, like I said, first time in school history that they went that far. I think that's great. But there was nothing on their film that wowed me. Nothing put out. Zone here, zone there. They're going to trap, pull. There was nothing that I saw on film that I thought was just out of this world.
Right.
When they played King George with the 2 receivers, the white kid and
unbelievable. Yep.
I can't think of his other name, but the 2 guys that will be playing probably on Sundays one day.
Yeah.
Yep.
Those guys, I mean, Mekhi White and the other guys, his name is escaping me right now. But those are the 2 best receivers I've seen in on the same football team in one season in a long time. And they and Kettle Run didn't have that.
Right.
And that's the only way that I thought that they would be able to be competitive is to have to throw the ball in Dinwiddie, but they don't have the receivers as a King George did. So, but they hung in there. They kept fighting to the end. They never quit. And so I them on that, but they were just really, really outmatched by the Generals.
Yeah.
So I wasn't. I knew this Dinwiddie team was legit because the point you just made is I was looking at their schedule and they beat Thomas Dale. They put 60 on Thomas Dale, and that's a Class 6 team that's very well respected, won the state championship in the last number of years, and then, but this one I knew they were legit. I thought that the state championship, Class 4 state championship, was actually Dinwiddie versus King George. Because I never saw the King George receivers in tackle, but I saw them in 7-on-7 a couple of times. And they were incredible, man. Like, it wasn't even fair for kids, Right. My son, who's a defensive back and gotten some interest in the past and for college, he's a senior this year. And he was trying to guard those dudes. And, I couldn't fuss at him. I was like, you did the best you could, man.
Right.
But yeah, so I thought, and it's interesting that game went to overtime because I think if had King George won that game, I think they would have probably won because I was pulling for Warwick, PD, y'all know the coach, Frat, and I was pulling for Kettle Run. They're 1 mile outside of Prince William County where I live. I referee high school basketball games there all the time. But Kettle Run, like I'm pulling for those teams, but man, when I looked at the damage that Dinwiddie was putting out this year, I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then I saw the game. I was in the press box at the 5-6 games, but I had those games running on my iPad. I had Phoebus and this game. And I was just like, oh my gosh, look at those. That they don't, just like Phoebus beat a Class 6 Oscar Smith. And then when Dinwiddie beating Class 6 Thomas Dale, I was like, oh, these teams, they're I like Brentsville too, but they weren't built to
right.
Just like Kettle Run wasn't built the way these teams were built.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, Coach Mills, he's always been the type, to say, to be the best, you got to beat the best. So, they scrimmaged Oscar Smith and I believe Green Run earlier this year.
Yeah. They were down there. They came down.
They did well.
They LC Bird, and their first 3 games. I mean, they went to GW Danville, went to Heritage Lynchburg, went to North Stafford. Like he will go anywhere, anytime, and play people. And I think that is a testament to the kind of the program that Dinwiddie has down there. Is just they don't duck anybody. They will play anybody anywhere. It's a tough kid that is in that county that is playing for that team. So that when you run up against certain I guess I hate to use the word built like that, but there are just certain teams that aren't built like that have kids. He does.
Now we're going to go ahead on to Phoebus in a sec, but I looked it up. The population of Dinwiddie County is only about 27,000 people.
More cows than people in Dinwiddie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
I know.
That says a lot because it's not like they can do a whole lot of recruiting because you got a way to try. You're not in the county. You really got to fake the address stuff like that's. Those are just homebred ballers, and so yeah. I'll say this last thing. If you look at the teams that won, and I can only speak for 3 through 6. They played extremely tough schedules, and most of them played teams that also went very deep in the playoffs. Phoebus played Heritage, who was in the state championship game, and then you can look, if you're a Stonebridge.
Dinwiddie played Heritage.
I'm sorry, Dinwiddie played, that's right, I'm sorry, Dinwiddie played Heritage.
That's right.
Went undefeated. If you're Stonebridge, you're at home saying, I only lost to Freedom and Highland Springs.
Right.
Maybe the 2 of the top 3 or 4 teams in the state. And so it was a number of situations like that.
Warwick High was the same way. They lost to Phoebus and Dinwiddie.
Right. So it was a lot of that. But what it tells me is the teams that have been successful, whether they won it or made it to the semis or regional final, they weren't scared to play anybody. And so that's what I like to see. And I'll tell you, Kettle Run and Brentsville, not that they weren't scared, they just didn't have the schedule built like that. I mean, and they ran through it.
Yeah, I was just going to point out for Dinwiddie, they're built for the future. Byron, I want you to talk about the incredible underclassmen they have. But real quick, for Dinwiddie and Kettle Run, both very athletic schools that are spirited. So Kettle Run will be back. I mean, they've got a lot of spirit. Same with Brentsville, even though Brentsville is in Prince William. So both of those. And by the way, we're going to start covering hoops. We did a hoops version earlier. But before we go,
Brentsville is so glad you moving up, Rob.
Yeah.
They are so happy.
But before that, so Phoebus, we're going to talk about the Phoebus 9th State Championship, 2 in a row. But Phoebus is moving up to 4. But Dinwiddie, 4 is going to be really good next year because if anybody thinks that King George, maybe you haven't heard of them, if you ever come up to Northern Virginia and the traffic starts in Fredericksburg, it's because the area up here is growing like crazy. So King George is not the sticks. It's east of Fredericksburg, and they've got great players, and they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. You look at Warwick, you look at Phoebus, you look at Dinwiddie, you look at schools like Kettle Run. Those
Ward goes to 5.
Oh, are they? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't keep up with all of them. But Byron, before we go, Dinwiddie's got a lot coming back. Talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, Harry Dogg is a sophomore, so he'll be back. One guy who didn't, I think, get a lot of praise. I mean, he did as the season went on, but he really turned it on the back half. Raphael Tucker, who's a junior, he's their tailback. I mean, that kid can run for days. He's very strong, very well built. He's back next year. And also Savon McDowell plays linebacker for Dinwiddie. He's a junior, 6'2", 6'3", 220, very athletic. He'll be back. So those would be the 3 guys that'll be back that'll lead them next year. And then with their, we were talking about Dinwiddie being one county, that is their feeder system from rec league, from, midgets, juniors, seniors on up through their JV. They bleed Navy, so they're going to be pulling back from those guys coming from JV, some of their middle school programs, they're just going to keep reloading. So those are the 3 off the hand that I can tell you that'll be back. I mean, I have the roster right here. They do lose a lot, Chris Drumgold, wide receiver, Colin Jackson, offensive line, Trey McBride, who was their middle linebacker, number 3, he's gone. So there's definitely going to be some holes that they have to fill. But, like I said, any Billy Mills coach team will always be in the mix of things because of just how competitive they are. I mean, a few years ago.
Don't worry. We expect to see you guys the week after Thanksgiving.
Hey, I think everybody's shooting for that. But hey, let's get Region 4B has Verona, King George. They're all returning some stuff back. Patrick Henry, they still made the playoffs this year, but this was more of a year.
Force going to be great next year.
Yeah.
So, flipping over, and we want to tell everybody we're going to record a 5 that Highland Springs won their 5th championship in 7 years, which is incredible. And then we're also going to talk about Freedom.
8 years.
Okay, Freedom. I'm sorry, I thought I had that right. Freedom and James Madison of Vienna. So, flipping over to the team that's going to be coming to 4 next year, and 4 is very good, is Phoebus Phantoms, arguably, and I think people argue too much. Hey,
and that's fine. That's fine.
Phoebus is a great team. They're better than I thought they were. I was on the sideline, saw Big Rob, and you were in the press box, nice and warm. But they are just top to bottom. And I want to talk about Phoebus a little more in depth. I'm going to let Rob go, but for all the people out there, I don't think you need to bump your chest up and say, Freedom can beat anybody. Phoebus can beat anybody. Highland Springs can beat anybody. Dinwiddie. Hey, it's all mythical. If we could do a 14 playoff, and have 2 more games, it'd be great, but that ain't going to happen.
It ain't going to happen, man. It ain't going to happen.
So let's talk about, which is Rusty. Remember when Phoebus was 0-10? Man, it's hard to believe 9 state championships. But it was nice seeing that. Rob, just walk us through it, man.
Hey, listen, man. I appreciate you guys, man. But I'm gonna piggyback off that before I get into it. Everybody's gonna get a chance to see what they want to see next season. Trust and believe me. With the new classifications, you'll have Phoebus, Dinwiddie state semis, and you could possibly have Highland Springs Freedom semis, and you could also have Graham Riverheads in the state finals. So. Yes. Everybody be patient for 365 days, and we're all what you want to see. But yeah, man, this was our 9th title, 10 appearance, 21 years, 9 titles in 21 seasons. Coach Blunt's 3rd appearance in 5 seasons. This team was special. I remember seeing them early in August and just kind of seeing them play in the scrimmages against Salem and Cox, and just saw them at kind of like midseason form already, just the way they were flying around, and got the transfer with Nolan James. So the game was awesome, man. Heritage of Lynchburg, we knew they were a tough team. The quarterback came in, I think, throwing almost 2,400 yards. So he wasn't bad. We knew that, but we knew what we had on defense. We knew we probably had the best defensive player in the state with Michael McMullen. and also Trey Reddick at defensive end, and Mr. Pitt, Big Pitt, as some people might know, Jordan Bass, and awesome defense. So we knew they was gonna have a long day ahead of them on offense, a long day, very long day, and they wanted to come out and play man, which was a no-no. Which was a no-no, and Jaden Early stepped up big. But it didn't surprise us because we kind of knew, that he could do it. The great offensive line, they gave him great time all day.
Right.
The running game kept everybody honest with Tarion. So we knew just gonna come in here and do what we've been doing for the last 14 weeks or whatever it is. And I mean, 48-7, we upset we didn't get 49. We didn't match Dinwiddie score against them. They beat them 49-7. We beat them 48-7. So ours was for a title. But, it was a great season, man. Shout outs to Coach Blunt, the staff, and the whole team. And, it was just great for the adversity we faced. Everybody might remember, we had the Norcom incident happen and, players suspended in the regional final. And it was just a whirlwind of a season. And for Coach Blunt to keep those kids' heads where they were supposed to be at and finish the job and check off boxes, man, it was awesome to see. So like you said, 9th title, 21 seasons. That's pretty dope. I'm happy for these kids.
And what people may not know is those 9 titles were done by 3 separate coaches. Unlike Hampton High School, they had the great Mike Smith that did, 12 titles over 50 years. I think that says something too about just the community, because you have 3 different coaches. I think that, and I know there's probably some foundational like assistants and all, but man, like 3 different coaches, that is awesome. 3 coaches that should definitely be Hall of Fame coaches.
And you speak highly on why the reason why they're good is the foundation. Coach Sexton, which coached under, Coach D, came right back and we just kind of picked up where he left off and just kept things going. And then everybody remembers Coach Blunt was the captain on the first state title team under Coach Blunt. So, some of the same morals and beliefs and just the work ethic and drive that Coach D instilled in Coach Blunt, is some of the same things we do today. Physical play, get to the ball, weight room, what I'm saying, brotherhood, play for each other. And our motto is big team, little me. Big team me. Team me is our motto, but big team, little me, no one's bigger than the team. So, that's our motto.
Speaking of that, and I'm going to say, because I've coached a lot too, but I've been around some teams this year, and one team in particular, and they had a kid that some people might have thought was one of their better players, but when I coached him in youth and middle school, this kid was a problem in terms of not really being a team player. I don't want to call a kid a cancer, but it impacted and infected the team.
Right.
And I think it would have helped him long term if something had been done about it by the coaching staff. He got suspended one time just because of something he did in the game by the refs. But I'm saying I thought it really brought the team down. And so let me ask you this. Do you have any kids that were like that? And then the other thing is, clearly you probably don't because of what you're saying, but then do you have any kids walking the hall that would be beast players, but they just don't fit the culture?
I mean, we and I'm gonna go with the first thing, we had a really good team. Like they really enjoy playing with each other. Like they all spend a lot of time with each other at each other's houses and parents' houses, and the parents, they feed them every week. So we have those team bonding moments every week. Like that's not for Thanksgiving, like some people might have seen on Facebook. Like they eat together every week. 15 weeks they eat together at some point. So I don't think this season we had really, that type of issue. I mean, we've had some issues like that where one guy in the bunch kind of might shake some things up. And so that makes it harder for us now. We got to make sure it doesn't affect our play. And maybe down the road in these years past, it might have caught up with us. But I'm sure there might be some kids in Phoebus that should be playing football that maybe they don't want to bring their cancer to the school, because I'm not saying we wouldn't kick them off per se unless it's just that bad. But I mean, we do a good job. Coach Blunt does a good job of kind of weaning that stuff out, not really allowing it. It's like, you're not going to bring that stuff here to a program like Phoebus and expect to get anything out of it.
I just want to say one last thing, Kirk, and that is that, when I was at Bethel, I won't say his name, but we had a kid that was a tremendous athlete. Tremendous. I mean, he was Vince Young before Vince Young. And we really needed a quarterback. But it actually, our coaches put it to a vote to our team if we would let him come the next year. And we voted no. The best athlete in the school was not on the team. And
that's real, though.
So I'll just say this. I think, and I've seen Andre Kendrick talk about this. He's out in Glass. He played at Virginia Tech. Sometimes, man, when you give that tough love, you're actually saving that kid's life, man. That kid that maybe didn't play in 9th and 10th grade because of some of those issues, if they do grow and learn, and then they're on the team and they learn about the brotherhood and see the big picture, like sometimes those real life lessons do save that kid's life or just helps put them in the right path.
Absolutely. I've definitely coached some kids in the past that way. Like, they didn't play a snap probably all 4 or 5 years there, but they're successful fathers now. They're successful men, and they will talk about just how we stayed on them and didn't, they might have up downs every day when they come out to practice for whatever reason it was. But, we talked to them the day they're 30 years old or whatever. And like, Coach, man, appreciate you, man. Still go by some of those things today, discipline, hard work, being on time, just those little things have definitely, that's the reward as a coach, is seeing those guys be successful.
I was just going to point out that their quarterback, heritage quarterback, Hove Bateman, number 9, what if he would have been on Phoebus's team with that offensive line and those weapons? That guy's a pretty damn good player.
Oh, no, he was very good.
Running for his life. Yeah, he rolled out extremely well. He could throw on the run, and he could run. But one of the things I told you, Rob, is it became apparent. The first series they went down, they completed a nice pass.
Right.
It was obvious, just like Dinwiddie, athletically superior. And when I say that, I'm not saying it as a put down. It's just that they were that good. And, Coach,
I think we had 2 goal line stands in that game.
Oh, yeah. So, and the job that, Coach Blunt, living up to expectations, winning his 2nd title in a row, and all the assistants, those kids well behaved on the sidelines. What's funny is I've been in the schools here, and we didn't do this. There was a lot of foul. I didn't hear much cussing. I didn't hear hardly anything. And, the kids were all together. But I just want to point out that, a couple things. Jordan Bass is one of the best players I've seen in 30 years.
Yeah.
And he's one of the best. I'm not going to say the best. I've seen Alex Birchmeyer play. He is a beast. Tony Rojas is a beast. And there's a bunch of others. But Jordan's a great player. 2 bombs, and the second one, he beat 2 guys for it. He's just an unbelievable guy, was hitting people like a Mack truck. But, the stars stand out. I feel bad for Nolan James, but he was able to take that that last snap.
A great moment, man. That was Sports Center. That was,
right.
Make-A-Wish. I know he's not dying or nothing, but that's one of those.
Yeah, no, that was great.
That's good.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that was one of those moments, man. He came to Phoebus to play in that game.
Right.
He came to play for a title, and to go down the week before the title game, I could just imagine what was really going through his head. You know what I mean? And Coach Blunt asked the official before the game, could he roll his scooter out there and take the snap? No. And the ref was like, nah, we can't let him do that. But we had the backup plan to let him get dressed, and Coach Blunt, worked the clock. The defense ended up making an exceptional play, getting him the ball back with the pick. And we were a little worried because the defensive end picked it off, and he almost ran it back. But so it kind of would have messed us up for kind of letting Boosie get in. But he was able to get in and got dressed. And the linemen, one of my things when I get a chance to talk to the line is he's the prize. Like, he's gold. you protect him at all costs. That's your mama, that's your little sister. The quarterback is the guy, protect him. So they carried him onto the field. The guy stood him, made sure he was straight. And shout outs to Heritage of Lynchburg. Sometimes you see some teams still try to rush and stuff like that, but they didn't even move.
Yeah.
It was very respectful for the moment, and they understood. And it was awesome, man. I was up in the press box upstairs, like my eyes watering. I'm like, keep it together, Rob. Keep it together. You know what I'm saying? It was awesome, man. I shout out, like I said, to Coach Blunt and everybody for allowing that moment for Nolan James, Boosie as we called him. So yeah, man, that was awesome. Great moment.
I wanted Kate. Jaden Early did great. I mean, that's a big game in a college stadium, press there. I think that one interception had to have been a wrong route or missed call. But what I want to point out is, like, Michael McMullen and Anthony Reddick, I think, had 6 sacks between the two of them.
Yeah.
And then I just saw Marcus Hobson.
Yep.
Good, number 52. Right. And we were talking about number 51, which was
freshman.
Troy. Oh, freshman. Yeah. He's going to be good. And then Tayshawn Stevenson. A lot of these guys get overshadowed by the big recruits. Also, Caleb Tillery was a beast.
Sophomore.
Emery D'Urso, number 55, a junior.
The whole offensive line comes back next season.
Yeah. Go ahead, Rusty.
Hold on. This is what we are blessed to have Byron Jones with us. He not only writes, he knows recruiting.
Yeah.
So be quiet, Kirk. I was about to ask Byron, you've seen a lot of teams. You've seen a lot of athletes. Can you tell me, my question for you is, can you name some of the top athletes you saw this year in high school football, and then over your career in covering? Who are some of the ones that stood out? And they could be household names, or they could be people we've never heard of, but you just thought, like, that dude had it. That dude was a dog. So, and I'll give you an example. You're a little young, but, Allen Iverson, or even Lansdowne's
Percy
Harvin. Like, those are easy ones. But tell us some ones that you saw this year and over your career.
Hey, real quick. Phoebus players, I wanted to talk about you one-on-one because we did, 33 minutes. But yeah, Byron, that is a good point, because we got Dalton at Dinwiddie. You've seen a lot of special players. Phoebus certainly had some of them. I know you only saw the last few minutes, but yeah, go ahead.
We're very, very young at the P.
Yeah, well, Jordan Bass he's up there. I mean, phenomenal athlete. I got to see the state game with Phoebus and LCA last year. That's where I really found out who Jordan was with some of the plays he made there. And then, Anthony Reddick is going to be he's only a junior. So, those are guys who are some really good athletes. But, I've been doing this about 5 seasons now. My all-time, I think the person who, in my opinion, is the best I've seen, again, I'm younger than some of you guys, but Travion Henderson from Hopewell. He's probably number
1. Oh, we've seen him.
Yeah. Yeah. 28-6 that year with Trey when you had to come to Hopewell. He's just by far the best football player I've ever seen in my life, like in person in this capacity. Chris Tyree, he's at Notre Dame. Was fortunate to see him. Brennan Clark, which was Manchester's quarterback a few years ago, went to Notre Dame.
Yep.
He's hopefully he'll get a shot at ODU next year. I think he's one of the best pure passers that I've seen at the quarterback position. So, that goes to show, you can get ranked high, which we're not saying anything we don't all know. You get ranked in high school and you get these opportunities. You never know what's going to happen to you at that next level. So it's, make sure you're there for the right reason, getting your education, doing those things. Because like I said, Brendan was, he's still, like I said, fighting back for some injuries, but he had to hit the transfer portal. He's back at ODU, and we don't know where that's going, but I hope all the best for him. This season, Harry Dalton, Takahi, Holland Springs, Braylon Johnson, Brennan Johnson, his younger brother.
Johnson is wow.
He might be one of the better defensive players for class of 2025 in the state. He's just, to be 15 and to get after it and play as downhill as he does at middle linebacker. I mean, he's not afraid of contact. So, it's going to be exciting to watch him the next couple of years. So Chris Tyree has a younger brother. Well, he has two younger brothers, Nick and John, who are twins that play at Thomasdale. Nick, I think, is the better of the two, just being honest. And he has a lot of the same speed qualities as his brother. So not a lot of people don't know much about, Nick yet, but I think in the next year they will see him get that opportunity. Landon Abernathy, quarterback at Manchester, is a true freshman. And he started his first game this year against Highland Springs. Could you imagine 14 years old? But he kept his nose in there and he was letting it rip. So I'm excited to see where he goes the next couple of years. But yeah, I can talk all day about the people.
You just make sure you come to the P, man. I got 6 returning on D. I got about 6 returning on O. So that's about 12. So
a little different next year. I've enjoyed covering the Richmond region. Obviously it's home, but I just have an interest of covering more of the state and kind of being a nomad and going to go hit things as I see them, because I have some ties out west that I would like to get out and kind of cover some of those games and get some press to some schools that don't get, press out there. So
yeah, I'd love to hear more about Riverland and some of those teams.
Riverhead.
Yeah. Riverhead.
So Greenville, that's in Augusta County. That was just about 30 minutes north of where I'm from. So, I know some people within that community, but like I said, Virginia just has such great football. And
absolutely.
It's a privilege to be a part of a network like VAPreps and have kind of the autonomy to really do what I want to do and get out in some of those areas. And like I said, really highlight some of those teams that don't get a lot of, the highlights that they deserve. Mm-hmm. So I'll talk with Matt Hatfield about, in the coming months and kind of come up with something, but Richmond's home, but like I said, you may see me in different parts of Virginia next year.
Oh yeah, you're in a good location. We left out Ty Taylor, number 7, and by the way, he's another one that's overshadowed in another program. His recruiting profile, even though he gets a lot of looks, but I wanted to say this. We're starting to get bigger on Twitter, and I noticed that all the players, it's obviously of their generation, blessed to receive an offer, thankful or whatever, and it's like, these kids need to remember that was the guy named Cam Chancellor at Amore High School that got an offer from Virginia Tech at the very end. So if he would have been on Twitter, he would have been, and there were guys in Cam Chancellor's that had Ohio State, Georgia, blah, 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 blah. Look at things now. Guys, right. 3 safeties, strong safety, whatever he played, ever. So think about this. Some of these guys that are on Twitter talking about Clemson and Georgia and Penn State and Ohio State, there's some players out there that are going to be playing on Sundays, and these guys are, going to be working a regular job. So keep that in mind. In Byron, Rusty, I've said this to you and Rob, class of 24 is, or the sophomores, 25 is loaded, man. Yeah. You got kids from, Dalton, you've got Messiah Delhome from Warwick, and
Caleb Tillery, Davion Roberts, my 2 guards,
Hill, Brendan Johnson. Yep.
Yeah, Brendan. Both my inside linebackers are sophomores. I got 3 offensive linemen that are sophomores. I return a tailback. He'll have it for 2 years. So we're 25. I just know at Phoebus alone is gonna be tough because we have some 25s that just had to wait.
Right.
Because of what's ahead of them.
And they may be better than the kids that they played behind now. So you got to think about that. So, Rusty, let's try to wrap up. We're 44 minutes. Go ahead, Byron.
The Overton kid from
real good.
Sophomore tailback.
Jeff Overton. Oh, I'm so sorry, Jeff.
Yeah.
25.
You set me up. By the way, we're going to have a 5 and 6. So we're going to talk about Highland Springs as well as Freedom Woodbridge. But let's do this. Let's close with the outlook for Division 4 next year with Phoebus coming up, Warwick leaving. Let's just talk a little bit about Division 4. And then let's give our opinions on that 5 and 6, mythical. So I would say that 4 is going to be unbelievable next year. Kingsport, great school, football, basketball. You've got Varina, Dinwiddie, King George almost beat Dinwiddie. You got Kettle Run up here, Loudoun County up here, just so many good teams. With Phoebus coming in, somebody said it was Brandon Davis, great guy, but he said he thought that 4 was the weakest. I think 4 is very good. I think 4 is 5, 4, 6, and 3. So with Phoebus coming in, Rob, and I know you're going to say Phoebus is going to win. They're definitely favored, and I said this last year. They're favored to win this year. They're going to be favored, or very likely.
They can't be favored in 4. They're not.
I changed it to very likely. I
was going to say, I don't know how do you, because we don't get to be defending champs because we're going to 4. Yeah. So, Dinwiddie, that's fine. It's okay.
But look, not just Dinwiddie. Varina, I heard they were young this year, and
that's fine too. I need everybody to be better next season in 4.
Hey, I would like to go to a game that's not 48-6 or whatever. I mean, I would enjoy that.
I enjoy 48-6. I don't know about you. I mean, I enjoy 56.
I know what you're saying.
I mean, but I listen back in 20. Let's see, the last one we played was 2010. Dinwiddie was 13. It was at 21-13. So, Dinwiddie was up 13-0 with 9.5 minutes left in that game. I mean, I remember hearing them already scheduling to book their hotels for the next week and everything. And then here comes Phoebus. So I expect to see, some really good teams. I know about Varina being tough. They're a very good program. I don't expect them to be like they were last year. Right. So I'm excited. I'm excited to move up to 4. And when we got to get there, just like Dinwiddie has to get there. We give everybody credit. You got to beat what's on your schedule to get to that game. But don't think we don't want the defending 4 champs, Dinwiddie. And make sure you tell my buddy Chris Hall I say hello.
So, Rusty, the way it's trending, Phoebus will face, and by the way, we're not giving a slight, Phoebus is going to face Dinwiddie in the semifinals, which is a lot different than what they did this year. Byron, let's talk about Dinwiddie and what they have come about. They've got Harry Dalton, a great team, a great coaching staff. So, right. And if they get past them, they've got EC Glass, Kettle Run, King George, by the way. Those are all Phoebus. It's going to be a tougher ride.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I don't think it wouldn't be the semifinals. Wouldn't it be the regional finals? The same place.
We just replaced Ward. Take Ward down and put Phoebus there.
Regional finals. You're right, Rusty.
But they played Ward in the finals. They played Kettle Run in the state semis.
No. You got that backwards.
Nah, they played
Kettle
Ward
Run played Glass in the semis.
Yeah. A plays B, C plays D in the state semis.
Okay.
Right. Okay. King George, the semis.
4B, so that would be the regional final.
Right.
Okay.
Because Phoebus would be in 4A.
That's right. You're right.
Right. Yeah. So you're looking at Phoebus. So we're saying Phoebus would be in the semifinals against the regional finals against Dinwiddie. Is that the quarters or the semis? I'm sorry.
That'd be the state semi. So 4A plays 4B, 4C. That's right.
All right. So real quick, let's close with this. We'll talk about 5, 6. Prediction for 4 next year.
Phoebus. What you mean?
All right. Byron, our guests go first. Go ahead.
Well, I guess it's like what they do on ESPN, the way too early predictions, I guess you could say. It's hard not to put Dinwiddie. They're the defending champs, but so I'm going to go with them. I'm going to ride with the 804. To start off with, but
okay.
I respect it.
It's right around the corner, and I think Phoebus on paper is going to have more coming back than Dinwiddie. So
Billy Mills will have them ready though.
Yeah, they'll have them ready, absolutely. But we were just talking through your roster a little bit ago with what the depth and the dynamic that you guys do have coming back. Like I said, Dinwiddie has a lot of great role players, but like they're losing a lot of stars, but they have arguably the best offensive player in the state for 2025 coming back, and Harry Dalton. So, that's huge for them. But, they just got to fill in some other places. But like I said, on paper, I think Phoebus has a little bit more weapons coming back at this point, but we don't know who's transferring or
right. High school transfer portal is open.
Right.
Hey, we know about some transfers, but we're not going to say.
There's a lot of variables. Like high school is crazy. There's anything can happen next week. Parents get a job and leave the state, or like I said,
we got Nolan James from Nasman River.
Y'all stole a Bethel kid too.
Zay Rogers, he scored a touchdown.
Right. Rusty, who you got?
Hey, come on, let's go. He got him 7-5.
Rusty, you got to go Phoebus, Rusty.
He got the AIs. He got
some Iversons, Kurt.
He got the.
We were talking about Bethel, and I was like, these just came in the mail the other day.
That's fire. Yeah. Shout out to you, Rusty. Come on.
Hey, there you go.
All right. So let's just talk about 5 or 6 and close up. But Rusty, make a prediction for 4.
Oh man, I got Kettle Run. No, I'm just playing. I mean, I'll give Kettle Run some Northern Virginia love, but no, it's Phoebus, man. I think Phoebus, that team is they just reload. So and that's who I'm actually pulling for.
Yep.
I love what anybody that's gonna represent Hampton, man. That's my heart. So
yeah, I think Phoebus Dinwiddie is going to be a great game, and I think what's funny is with Phoebus, with the PD and everything improving, Dinwiddie could have a higher power ranking with both teams being undefeated next year. So and look out for King George. But I like Phoebus facing the winner of Tuscarora Glass. The Tuscarora and Lynchburg, start following them. So I like Phoebus to win 3 in a row. I'll have to.
You think Tuscarora can get past Loudoun County?
Yeah, Loudoun County loses significant. Tuscarora's got a lot. Both. But, Kettle Run, a lot of these are going to be very similar. So I will say that. Now, as we start to talk about 5 and 6, Highland Springs is moving up to 6.
Yeah.
Not good news for 6, but I will say this. Coach Overton at Freedom is not getting enough credit for how good that team is. That team could possibly defeat, and when I say possibly, I'm saying they could be better than Dinwiddie, Phoebus, as well as Highland Springs. And now they've got, Tristan Evans is coming back to quarterback. Jeff Overton's coming back. I know they do lose some key players, but
Juju, they lose Bush, they lose TJ.
Listen, winning cures everything.
Right. Yep.
Winning makes everything a lot easier the next season. Transfer portal, just the way you go about workouts. When coach says be there this time, it's not, coach, it got me a championship last year, so I'm gonna be there. So 5 and 6 is gonna be good again. You got Stonebridge. Hey, you don't gotta play Highland Springs.
Good point. That's a good segue.
Highland Springs.
Maury?
So Maury.
Green Run is loaded.
Right, and I'm hearing some things getting shaken up over at Green Run, portal action.
Don't say anything. You can't take back.
Kurt, I was just talking to somebody about this. Green Run, and we said a little bit on this show, plays in the beach. And so they not only play beach teams for the whole district, but we talked about that's just the whole beach.
Right.
Their whole
And
play.
I was talking to somebody like they were good the last 2 years, but this year they had the Minchfield quarterback. I don't think it matters. Just like I think our 5, the region 5 with Maury and our PD schools is pretty weak. That Virginia Beach region, I don't think, as much as I love 5 and know there's some really great teams, and that's what I say. 4 and 5 to me were by far the toughest. And the reason I say 5 is the toughest is because if you look at, we know Highland Springs is great. They rep this state by beating other teams in other states. But Stonebridge still, they only beat them by 5. And as great as Highland Springs was, they only beat Maury by 14. And I'm not saying that to denigrate Highland Springs. I'm just saying that's how tough 5 is
Right.
and was, and Maury was missing too.
Ward goes to 5.
Right.
Ward goes to 5. So
And they were very young just as well. Their defensive line, I think, was freshmen, sophomores. Their offensive line was some freshmen, sophomores, and you know, they Messiah Del Holmes, sophomore. So Ward going to 5, state semifinal appearance. Coaches, I mean, like I said, winning, it changes a lot. So Maury, hey, listen, you got Ward, state semifinalists coming there.
Yeah.
To compete.
Stonebridge.
So 5 and then 6, like we said, Holland Springs Freedom. That could be a state semifinal game.
I think that
is, and that's the winner. Whoever, you know, I don't know about Freedom because I don't know how much they have coming back, but Holland
What'd you say, Byron?
So 6, because Holland Springs is going to 6A. So in 6A alone, you got Holland Springs, Manchester, Thomas Dale,
Smith,
Oscar Smith, Western Branch.
6A is going to be a nightmare to go.
Yeah.
So, and then I believe Freedom is in 6B.
B.
6C. So A plays B, C plays D. Right? So,
No,
Freedom is in B, and so Freedom's B, and C and D Fairfax they always play.
And basically 804 and the 757 come from one region, and they're going to play basically the Prince William region. That's what it is. And then you've got Fairfax County. Basically, Fairfax County makes up 2 regions. So you're going to have a Nova team, in my opinion, facing Highland Springs. Now, going to 5, I think Stonebridge loses a lot, but never count them out. Never count them out.
They really love it.
Yeah, there's some good teams, very good teams. Now, since Highland Springs is gone, I think Green Run, Maury, you know, you got to look at the winner of that region, which, by the way, is those are 2 separate regions.
Right.
I'm going to actually pick whoever wins that half to win it. So I'm saying I'm going to go with Green Run winning 5 next year, beating Stonebridge. That's who I'm. Yep. So the thing is Byron, who's going to come out of Richmond now that Highland Springs is gone? Dinwiddie is 4. Who's the 5 team?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's going to be a lot of question marks there. You know, Louisa is actually coming up to 5C.
Oh, that's a good one. Okay. All right.
But they're losing. They had a really great freshman, Savion Hitter, who's, you know, going to be a Power 5 guy, a true freshman. He's actually transferring to IMG next year. And there's another kid, I can't think of his name right now, who's also transferring to another private school. But, you know, they're going to replace a quarterback. So, I mean, but Louisa, you know, they just rebuild. They'll be in the mix of things. But I think you got to look at LC Bird after the year they had this year.
Yep.
You know, Coach Troy Taylor's got the kids believing over there, and Bird's getting back to playing bird football, you know, running the ball down your throat. So I think they'll be in the mix. Midlothian, they may trend towards the top. I know they're losing out of their production, but I think early prediction 5C, I have to go with LC Bird to win the region right now on paper.
Yeah.
But I see them making it out over, you know, a Green Run or a Stonebridge. You know, I think they win the region and fall, you know, I guess it would be the Stonebridge in the state semis.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Green Run has 3 of the top 20 recruits in the state. And they've also got a rising sophomore. He's a freshman this year, tackle, that's going to be a big dog. So I like Green Run coming out of that. Maury, and don't sleep on Kickitan. Our guy, Jeff Super, and the job that he's doing there in the PD is getting better. And then I like Bird. So, and I like Stonebridge also because Mickey, I talked to him week before last. And he's like, how you going to be next year? He said, terrible. Man, they're going to be just fine. They got a stable of running backs. They've got a DB.
I ain't trying to hear that, Mickey. I ain't trying to hear that.
So I like Green Run playing Stonebridge in the finals with Green Run winning. So there you go, 757. So, all right, Byron, you like Bird since you're an 804 guy?
Yeah, I mean, and we're speaking specifically Region 5C, which is basically Richmond.
Right.
I think Bird's going to be the favorite next year for sure. That's who I like because they use a trio of running backs and they're all coming back next year. And you know they should be ready to rock and roll.
Who do you like winning it all, Byron?
In 5?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Stonebridge.
Okay.
The offense and that they run, they don't need a lot of superstars. They just need guys who play assignment football and do what they need to do and handle their business. And they get that year in and year out. And then of course, Mickey Thompson is one of the best from the sidelines in Virginia. So, they're gonna be good.
They'll be there again.
They'll be there again until somebody knocks them off. They almost came back and got Holland Springs. Being down 19-0, and I was there, and I was like, "This is really about to happen right now." You get an inch either way on that ball at the end. The receiver comes down within the end zone.
No, for sure.
That's how close it was to being an upset. So they're my squad to win it in 5 next year.
Okay. So did we get you, Rob? Because I want the old man to see.
I'm going PD here to make it to the final. Warwick will make the state final versus Stonebridge in 5. And I'm gonna have Stonebridge to win it though. I just don't think.
Quick question, and maybe Byron, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but what region will Warwick be in? Will they be in the Green Run region or the Maury? I think they're going to be in the Maury.
They're going to be more because the 5A is the whole beach.
That is a damn good region by there.
It's not. No, it's not.
You got Maury, Kickingham, Nancy.
No, I'm talking about the beach region.
Oh yeah.
No. Okay.
If 5B is going to be tough. You got Maury, Warwick, Kickingham, Woodside, Nasman River made it to the regional championship game.
That's a good one, man. I'm glad you
put that. 5B is going to be tough, but I got Warwick winning that, beating Green Run in the state semis,
right,
in the final. But I just don't have them winning the final versus Stonebridge. But I have them getting there. That's what I'm going with.
Rusty?
Rob had the right answer. Who's the head?
Oh, never mind. Okay.
Come on,
it's
man.
Frat brother. All right,
brother.
I told you I got your frat brother.
Come on.
Hey,
I gave you the answers to the test.
To give a little love to my Loudoun County, Briarwoods is the program that you guys probably remember with Trace McSorley, Brandon. They won, I think, 3 titles in 4 years. So Mike Burnett is a guy that won 2 state championships at Broad Run, went to Tuscarora, had them in the state finals almost immediately. He went to California. He's back. Briarwoods is getting better. Sleeper team. Stonebridge is going to have a tough trip out of there with Mountain View. Riverbend. 5 is also going to be really good.
5 is going to be good. I think next year 4, 5, and 6 will be very, very good.
And I'm going to say this as we're closing out, because I've said in closing before we get to the 15 minutes, but we want to give congratulations to Graham, which is on the West Virginia border, Bluefield. Great team, 2nd in a row. And, Appomattox is also a great team. But we have Riverheads defeated George Wythe. So
7th. It's a 7th in a row, correct?
7th in a row.
Hey, that's tough, man. That's tough. Nobody done it in VA. Listen, it might be 1A, but that's your level, and I respect your level of, for competition, because nobody's done it other than those guys. So 7 is tough. Shout out to those guys out there, man.
Yep. Rusty.
All the P, we might play you guys, man.
Hey, that'd be a good one. Stanton's a great town. They come down to 757.
Yeah.
Get a little beach time. So, Rusty,
you want Byron to cover the game.
Yeah. I'll be rooting for the P. I grew up despising Riverheads, so we never played them because we were 3A and they were 1. But that's something we'll talk about offline, how they do things. And, I know a little.
For sure.
Are they like Pulaski back in the 80s?
Oh, Pulaski was awesome, man. Those are some big boys.
But I'm just saying how they were.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Riverheads does a great job, and I mean they're from their rec league all the way up. I mean, their kids' uniforms are gladiator. I mean, you pop out the with a football if you're a boy and a Gladiators jersey. So that's it's just, and it's a cult, red pride, and you just hear it everywhere you go. And but they've beaten some really good teams over the years too. I mean, they dusted Lord Botetourt.
Yeah.
They dusted them. They're moving. They're my favorite to win Class 2 next year because they're that good of a team. I don't like Riverheads per se, but I respect them.
Right.
I don't take anything away from them, but if I had a way, I'll root against them.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up, but of course, thanks again, Rob. You have been a tremendous guest, and we know you know all sports 757. So we get you back here for some basketball intel.
Absolutely. Hey, I'm going to the Woodside Minchville game tomorrow.
Oh, okay. We might have to get you to report back on that. And then Byron, thank you so much for. I think you just got into our Rolodex. You definitely know your stuff. Do you also cover basketball?
Well, I'll go to games and keep up a little bit, but my wife is very patient and she's the best. Football takes a lot out, with having something to do every weekend. So I don't follow basketball like in a writing standpoint, like football. But if we want to talk recruiting or any sort of football or anything like that,
I was telling Rusty the great thing about basketball is 2 hours, 9:15. Go pick her up, take her to a nice restaurant, eat dinner. So there you go. It ain't like football, which takes up,
I follow John Marshall quite a bit. I know their coaches. I'll get down to some Bird games because it's right around the corner. So
Bird is a very good team.
I don't follow it enough to where I could get on your show and feel like I'm contributing in a good way, unless we're talking something specific. But football is more, like I said, my speed, and I'm here to chop it up anytime. And I appreciate
Byron. You can do it. If Kirk can fake it, you can fake it. Okay. Kirk is faking football.
I never played football, man. Never played football.
You can do it.
Never played football. My mother would not let me play. I still have dreams about it. But I do
know cool being you, Byron, man. You got Twitter or anything,
at Byron S. Jones.
Yeah.
All right. So Byron
S. Jones.
At Byron S. Jones. I got the S wrong, Byron. But I will say this in closing: the 804 won the most titles, whether you like it or not. That's how it went. The 804 with Dinwiddie and Highland Springs won 2 of the 6, and then the others were split.
Larry Legend, are you finally glad we
Larry Legend
shouting it out? I know Larry right now is like 804, 757, blah blah blah, 757.
We ought to. We should have charged Larry $100 to just enter the 757. You know what I'm saying? All right.
Yeah. So thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. You have been great. Look, we want you all to again, not just watch this comment, tell me where they were wrong. I know I was right, but also make sure you follow. I want you guys, if you want, then we're going to go around one more time. Plug your publications, plug anything you're doing, or anything outside. Like I know Boo Williams, or if you coach your daughter's rec league team or something, let us know. But thanks again for joining us.
Appreciate it. Hey, the big _Galactus on Twitter, the Galactus on Instagram, Anthony Robinson on Facebook. Man, I coach high school football, youth football, AAU basketball. Like I said, I'm going to basketball game tomorrow. Basketball season for me now.
Love basketball.
So, hey, follow me there, man. Hit me up, say hello, talk a little junk. I don't care, man. I don't take it that serious. It's just good football talk, sports talk. So.
Yep. Thank you, Byron.
Yep. So Byron Jones, you can follow me at Byron S. Jones on Twitter. That's where I do most of my football stuff. I don't really use Instagram for that, but always willing to chop it up with people and talk sports. Any kind. Football is, like I said, my specialty. But I just appreciate the networking opportunity I've had by doing this and meeting the people I've met. So it's all about shaking hands and relationship building, and I look forward to doing that same moving into the future with all you guys.
Yeah, man. Thank you. You passed the test, Byron. Some people were like when they after they get off.
But you'll be superpowers in life, and they can do a lot of different things. Mine is talking. Like I'm not afraid.
Well, Rusty, we're definitely going to close. I want you to take a step, but I will say this, and Byron, you know this, and Rob, both of us. There's a lot of jockeying going around right now. We've got 2 kids in Virginia that have decommitted, a third that's about to decommit, and with the transfer portal, a lot of stuff starting to happen. Kevin White is going to A&T. And by the way, some people are going to try to change his mind. And then I see a lot of kids that have committed that are still taking visits. So we got more of that coming. And I think UVA and Virginia Tech may have some kids coming in, as well as ODU, JMU, and those programs. So it will be fun. And Rusty, let's commit in February to having Byron and somebody else from the recruiting world to come on. Let's talk about football recruiting. All right?
Yeah. My last thing is this. And I'll keep saying last thing, but do you think any team from the state of Virginia deserves to be ranked in the top 25 in high school football?
Highland Springs.
And if so, who?
Phoebus on Highland Springs. Top 25 without private? No.
I'm saying in the country. If USA Today, do you think any of our teams from this state would have should be ranked?
I wouldn't put us there. We don't have the schedule.
Public schools. If you went public schools, but in private schools dominate, like that team, St. John Bosco, you should see their roster. They're in Orange County, Upper Orange County. It's an all-star team, man. I mean, almost every position.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, I'll give you two that I have an argument for. I have an argument for Phoebus. One, they're two-time. They defended the state championship. They beat the two-time defending Class 6 state champion and Oscar Smith. So I think that warrants a lot of credit. And then I'm going to go with Freedom because Freedom broke scoring records, but I was there when they scrimmaged DeMatha and they handled DeMatha, one of the best teams in the country and playing up here in the WCAC. So, I mean, I know scrimmages don't count for the rankings, but based on those facts, I would say that, those are teams that could be considered.
I think Byron knows best. I mean, a lot of those rankings go with your rosters, and I don't think none of us have the rosters.
Variables, but it's like who's on your team, how many 5 and 4 stars you got, and then it's like I look at like the schedule. So like your Matter Days of the world and your St. John Bosco's, your South Carroll's in Texas, your Massillons in Ohio, like
and Francis in Baltimore now.
Those household names are
but Massillon's public. South Carroll's public. Those are public schools.
Right.
It's a mix of public and private. I mean,
is it? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, because Mater Day's private. That's a private school.
St. John Bosco. Don Bosco in Jersey is another one that's real good.
Yeah. So there's a lot of I don't know how they composite a lot of that, but top 25. I mean, they're looking for some crazy. I mean,
we had like 5 Jordan Basses on our team or something like that. Now
watch out for those schools in Richmond, because you can do all kinds of stuff, like having kids from Norfolk, Virginia Beach, Newport News go up there to play football. It happens. So there we go. All right, we're going on and on. Rusty.
Thank you, guys. This has been great.
Man.
So for Byron Jones, A-Rob, and my co-host Kirk here, this has been the Kirk and Bird Show with our review of the Class 3 and 4 state championship. Thank you, guys. God bless. Kirk and Bird is out.
Keontae Gray, number 2. I got you.